Joseph, I know you're about to do a cold open, and I just want to double check ahead of time that it's not just going to be you making a pun on the word Resident Evil.
No, it is not.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. When you woke up this morning, did
Yeah.
you feel safe?
I felt safe.
Is that a common occurrence, would you say? Like, you wake up in the morning, you feel safe in your own home?
I would say so. By and large.
I wonder.
Are you saying you do not?
Well, no, here's something I wonder. Like, we live in relatively small environments, you know? Like, our houses aren't big. You live in a space. I live in a space, you know? And they're not very large. Yeah. What I'm implying is neither of us live in a mansion.
Neither of us live in a mansion. That is true.
Do you think, with a bigger house, do you think there's like, I don't know, I feel like having empty space kind of can invoke a fear?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So do you think, like, obviously I think people who have enough money to get the security systems, they probably feel safe in that way. But if you were like in an old-timey mansion your uncle owned or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's just a big old house. It's not, haunted or anything.
As far as I know.
How long do you think it'd take you to get, a good night's sleep? How many weeks?
How many weeks? Whoa. That depends. Do I have my melatonin supplements?
Without drugs.
No drugs?
No drugs. You don't have to necessarily do anything, so it's not like you're...
Probably a minute. Probably a bit.
All right. So you're not thinking a week, but you're thinking it takes some...
I would say a couple of days before I felt comfortable.
Okay, now I'm throwing something else into the mix.
What you got?
At night, you start hearing these kind of creepy noises, and it's only happening at night. And they sound...
Is it my uncle?
Not really. It sounds kind of like people.
Not really.
But it's not people. But it's not like ghosts or anything, because ghosts don't...
Because ghosts aren't real.
Right.
Right.
Do you think that's going to set you back further, or are you
that would definitely probably play a factor, I would imagine, yeah.
Now, this is into week 2, okay?
All right, week 2.
These noises and they're organic. They're not like a recording or a fabrication because they're different,
There's something out there making these noises.
Right.
Okay.
Now, you start getting knocks on your bedroom door.
Someone's knocking. Oh, that's not very nice.
And then week 3, like, see, it's like a knock and then they go away. So like if you went up to go check the door.
Like if I open the door, there's no one there.
Right.
Okay. And now you're assuming I would not leave after week 2.
It's your uncle. You gonna leave your uncle?
Yeah.
You're gonna leave your uncle.
If someone's knocking on my door and there's weird moaning sounds for 2 weeks straight.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
You need a pool.
What's that?
You need a pool to be there, don't you? You need some reason why you can't leave.
I need some incentive. Yeah.
All right.
Like dogs outside. Like zombie dogs outside. Keeping me.
I don't think that's the incentive I'd aim for, but all right.
Well, it's unincentive. It's something.
So this uncle, he does have a name, though, that is pretty interesting.
Chuck.
Unlike your actual uncle.
So, okay. This is a different uncle.
This is a different uncle. His last name is Knievel.
Oh, okay.
And you would say he's a resident of this manor. Now, he got rich from stunt performing.
Now, I do want to stop you right there, Joseph, because when we did start this recording, I specifically asked, are you going to end up making a pun of the words Resident Evil? And you said no.
It's not a pun.
Are you sure?
Because he's evil. He's a resident. It's not a pun. It's just saying Resident Evil. Hey everybody, welcome to Speculation Station. I'm Joseph Thomas, here as always with my good buddy Eric.
It's me! I did like a Kramer thing, but with the Resident Evil door.
That's real funny.
That was worth the 3-minute setup, right?
Oh, poor audience, you will never know the struggle that we go through for this show.
For a second and a half of a door opening. But imagine me coming through the door like Kramer.
But it's the big, scary Resident Evil door.
That's my joke. I'm Eric. Hello.
This is a show where we, call it Speculation Station, but in reality, it's called Speculation Station. And
Whoa.
What is the purpose of the show, Eric?
Okay, you're really nailing this new intro. The show. So here, I'm really nailing the new intro. Sorry, you sounded like a Resident Evil door yourself there for a second. So on Speculation Station, we take a video game, be it a series or a single title, and turn it into a movie, but not just any movie.
A movie that has to get a very special number on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you know where that number is?
I do. I've said it every single episode. It's 55%.
Yes. Which hopefully means we get a majority of people who say, it's worth seeing.
5% over the majority. Yeah, exactly.
Today we are talking about, you used a door earlier, Mr. Kramer from Resident Evil.
We're talking about Resident Evil, one of my favorite video game series.
Really?
And also a series that you have never played. For all intents and purposes, you are...
I was handed a controller on one of the remakes. Couldn't tell you which one it was. The one with Mr. X. So...
Resident Evil Remake 2 came out 2019.
Yeah, I was handed a controller by a friend.
It's a good one.
He said, hey, have fun for a minute, and I did, and then I got
around and
I got very
spooked
scared.
by Big Boy. It is a very scary game. Okay. So obviously I'm going to kind of be taking the reins on this one. But unlike our Horizon Zero Dawn episode, it will not be me reading the lore of Resident Evil, mainly because I do not understand the lore of Resident Evil. So Resident Evil is actually kind of, I think, the first video game movie that already exists in a series that we've done. It might be the only one that's actually been published that we've done so far, I believe. Unless you count Pokemon.
You can check us on that. Oh,
Pokemon's more of a genre at this point.
Yeah.
So we have those to look at. They're very not great. They turn into like a zombie apocalypse movies by like the third one.
Don't they have a new one in the works or a show or something?
Okay, so from my understanding, there are three different Resident Evil types of media or types of watchable media in the works. There is a CGI movie which produced by Capcom, voice acted by the same characters in the game's canon. So that one will be at least the same quality as the games. Not to say that's good or bad, just the same quality.
Right. If you thought that the quality of the games were terrible for a movie, then there you go.
You also have a Netflix, I believe it's a Netflix TV show set at the main bad guy, Albert Wesker. It's about his children in Raccoon City, I think, although...
Oh, is that the one they're delaying? Welcome to Raccoon City?
I think so. I'm not too sure. And then there's a movie which is supposed to take Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, smash them together into one movie, which that one also makes zero sense.
Okay.
Because Resident Evil 1 takes place like 3 months before Resident Evil 2. If anything, you should smash Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 together because those take place in like the same 2 days in the same location. Like literally the same location.
They really missed the right ship on that one.
Yeah, but we're not going to miss the right ship because unlike these people, I actually have played Resident Evil and I like the story of the first ones and I like the gameplay of the first ones. And the big question, it's our first series where I don't at least want to do anything new.
Ah, okay.
I don't want to, I want this to be an adaptation of a game, not a new story in the Resident Evil verse because we've seen how that goes. So, my first question is, I guess, which game should we adapt? And now you don't know anything about
I
these
don't,
games.
But as someone who doesn't know anything, I would assume we should also assume that the general audience might very well be horror enthusiasts or thriller enthusiasts who have not played the game. So if we were to not play the game, and let's say from my perspective, let's say, hey, I want to play Resident Evil. You take out the possibility of the controls being a concern, and you're just thinking about the story that enticed you most. Which one would you pick?
Okay, here's the thing about Resident Evil stories. They kind of suck. They are like they're like the first act of a story, and then they never get resolved. Like every new game is like the first act of a new story, and then you're really excited to see where it goes, and then it just kind of ends.
Do you think that's intentional, or do you think it's just poor writing?
I'm not, probably both.
Because it could be like a whole Hideo Kojima thing where, if you were to ask one of them, they'd say, well, this is the intention because it invokes this. And it's like, well, that's not a good answer, but I get it,
Yeah, like Resident Evil 2, which is my favorite one, basically, you're these, you come to the zombie world, you kind of survive for a bit, and then Leon and Claire, they finally get back together right at the end, and they're like, all right, we got to go stop these umbrella guys. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Game's over. Yeah, it just ends. And then we don't see them again for like 10 years at the game.
You mentioned earlier that 2 and 3 take place in the same period of time.
Yes, I don't want to do 2 and 3.
Okay, so you don't want to fix the mistake of the actual movie.
Well, they're sequels to 1. So, if anything, I think we should either adapt Resident Evil 1,
but do a single full adaptation.
To a single film. We should do I'm going to give you 3 options.
All right.
So, Resident Evil 1, we do a full film.
Do we want to wrap it up at the end? Do we want to actually make a definitive ending?
You could do a little sequel bait, but yeah, you want to wrap it up. We could do Resident Evil 0, which is technically where it all started. That one we're going to need to do a lot of work on. That one takes place like a couple hours before Resident Evil 1. Basically, there were 2 teams sent to this mansion. You know the mansion, of course.
The mansion.
The infamous Resident Evil mansion. It follows the perspective of the first team that was sent there as they all kind of died as zombies.
Oh.
And then there's like a train and like leeches. That one's not great.
Yeah, okay. I definitely think I'm going to nix that one.
All right, then we'll scratch that. Option previously 3, now 2, Resident Evil 7. Takes place, has basically nothing to do with any of the previous games. We have basically a blank slate. A little more traditional horror than, well, not traditional horror. It's scarier than Resident Evil 1. And that one is fairly self-contained, albeit I know it less.
Is that one, that one's like one of the new ones, right?
7th one, yeah, it came out in 2017, I believe. It takes place in Louisiana, and you're fighting rednecks.
Oh, is that the one like called The Village?
No, that's 8. That's coming out.
That's the new one. Okay.
Yeah, that comes out this year.
See, when they use Roman numerals and try to put it into a title, you can really fit any number of Roman numerals into a title.
Yeah, it could be 6, 7.
Especially when you turn 1 of the I's into an L. It makes you think, like, wait a minute. All right.
The secret 9th Roman numeral? VIII?
VIII.
So I'll leave the choice up to you. You want to do Resident Evil 1, the classic in the mansion, or you want to do Resident Evil 7, a little more gritty horror, much scarier.
As I see it right now, and this is what I'm going to go ahead and make my decision off of, I feel like 7 would be good to, if we were going to sit down and I had actually played 7, I think that would be the better option. But because I don't know either, I'm going to say the first one. And I'm going to say the first one for the sheer fact that redeeming what the movie did wrong is important for any audience to understand what they're getting into. When you build something up and you build up an understanding of what's going on, you can then later open up a new door, like they did. They created 7, which was so different in the actual games.
Right, but it's also the same.
But you're familiar with, in the game, you can be familiar with mechanics and other things. As we're in a movie, you're just familiar with lore and characters and music, and stuff like that.
Righto.
So let's start with 1.
Let's open that door. I'm going to use that several times during this. So, the basic story of Resident Evil 1. You play as either Jill Valentine or Chris Redfield. They both work for STARS, which is kind of a special unit within the Raccoon Police Department.
Now, raccoons, they're not the animals. It's a city, right?
It's a city not of raccoons.
So the characters are not raccoons.
They are not. I understand where that could be confusing. But unlike, say, Carson City, Nevada, which, as we all know, is exclusively made up of people named Carson, Raccoon City has all sorts of humans in it, and probably animals.
And probably animals.
So they're part of this specialized unit. They're part of the Bravo team. They're going to find the Alpha team who was sent into the Arklay Mountains. a couple hours earlier. That all takes place in Resident Evil 0.
So that would be a perfect way to reference that. But in the same way that one did,
even the
where
game,
one was just the one was just like, hey, this happened. And they're like, okay.
You find the crashed helicopter of the Alpha team. You see the dead body, and then dogs start chasing you. The scary zombie dogs. You see the mansion. You run for it to get into safety. Meanwhile, depending on which character you're playing as, Jill or Chris disappears, and you're left with the other one to kind of explore the mansion.
Okay,
that's the basic setup. Once you're in the mansion, you're basically exploring. You find it was held by this big rich family. You discover there's a secret lab under it. You kind of discover where these zombies came from, why these zombies came from, and it ultimately all leads to you finding that one of your team, a guy called Albert Wesker, it has been working for the bad guy called Umbrella Corporation, a pharmaceutical company, which pharmaceuticals obviously went wrong. They're trying to...
Rule number 1, do no harm. Rule number 2, money, though.
Rule number 2, zombie harm. He's basically sold you guys out as an experiment, kind of a testing ground for these zombies with you guys as the bait.
Oh, no, Albert.
Come on, Al. But it all goes badly because he releases it's called a Tyrant, which has been infused with the T-Series virus. He's a big gray man, and he gets whacked by the Tyrant, and then you have to fight the Tyrant, basically, and then you escape. It's very, very straightforward.
Okay.
That's the basic story.
So how would you line that up into a movie for everybody to enjoy? Would you say that it would start out kind of the same way that the game does and end on the same points that the game does? Or do you think you would split it up and add things in? Or do you want to just jump in and talk about that?
I think this lens, you said horror, and I would disagree because I feel like the distinction we've made between thriller and horror throughout these episodes is, at least in terms of ending, is horror's ending is cyclical, whereas thriller kind of has a more defined conclusion.
Right. And with a game like you said, like with 2, where 2 kind of was on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So now that we're talking about 1 and saying
one,
that
one is more straight thriller. You're in a scary mansion. You got to escape the mansion. That's basically it.
And by design, I think it's a thriller in design of the game too, because it seems like and this is somebody who's just hearing it from you. It seems very much like the old monster movies, where it's like, there was an evil scientist all along, who was doing this.
Yeah, it's very. One of the things that kind of the later games, even like 2 on, kind of lost sight of, is they have. So, like, in the other games, when you fight a boss, it's like a big guy with, like, an eyeball on his shoulder and stuff like that.
Yeah, an abomination made by
an abomination, yeah. But Resident Evil 1, you fight, like, classic... They're just like big animals. You fight a big spider, you fight a big snake, you fight a big, like, Venus flytrap plant kind of thing.
Almost like B-movie monsters.
Right, exactly, yeah. So very classic monster movie. I mean, you can still make that scary in 2021, of course.
100%. That's the whole point. The reason why they don't look good in B movies is because they don't have the resources to make them look good.
Yeah.
It's
definitely not as horrified as like a Abomination, though, I will say, unless you have arachnophobia.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your big question, I think it should be a thriller, and I think. I don't know. We could start in 2 places, I think. We could start where the game starts, where you come across the crashed helicopter of the Alpha team, and then you're immediately launched into the mansion. Or, and this is something I think the fans would like, as well as us for setting up characters, you start in Raccoon City, in the Raccoon Police Department, which everyone loves, which used to be an art museum, which isn't relevant, but it is a fun fact.
I think that's fun to reference. I would say yes to that for 2 reasons. One, we can kind of reference 0 a little more, and not so much in the sense of like...
Well, we don't want to reference 0, because 0 is not very good.
No, but I mean in the way that the story has it. I'm not implying the game itself is good as someone who hasn't played any of them, but I am implying that if there are characters that we're going to set up, say we're in the police department...
there's actually a character in 1 called Rebecca. She's the nurse of the Alpha team, and if you're playing as Chris, you find her. She's the main character of Resident Evil 0.
How much time will we be spending in Raccoon City? Because since the game spends almost its entirety in the mansion, Are we wanting to go ahead and just say, hey, we're going to spend a very short amount of time in Raccoon City just for lore, or are we want to actually going to create it to where the climax doesn't come until they're in the mansion, and then it's just an onslaught of these,
Well, you say
events.
mansion, but there's actually several different areas to the property, so it's not like we're going to be in one building the whole time.
Okay, so estate, I guess.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think long enough to set up who our main characters are. I don't think any longer than that.
Okay.
Kind of set it up as a safe haven, so when, they want to get out so bad, you kind of know where they want to go to.
I like that.
Raccoon
City, of course, from all the fan art and everything else that I have seen of this, it doesn't look like a very nice place.
It's not. It's a smaller, like 100,000 people industrial city. I believe it's like coal mining. So not illustrious.
So when we say we want to set it up as a safe haven, do we want to actually keep it?
Well, more is like in comparison to the zombie house.
Right. But I mean, do we want to set it up to where, in a very realistic point of view, where it's like this is where we are, this is home, this is where we do our job, and they're not really, nobody loves it, so to speak, but it's home.
Right.
And that would make it, I guess, more realistic. Or do we want to make it to where they actually do enjoy?
No, we don't. I don't think we want to make it idealistic.
Okay. Well, no, not idealistic, but I mean, like, the characters can be a little more optimistic.
I don't think so. Okay. I think it's more of just a desire to get back to normalcy.
To get away from zombies.
Right, which for this period of time is what Raccoon City represents. Until 3 months later, it does not represent. And then 2 days later, it represents a nuclear crater.
Man, this city just doesn't... Man, Mr. Whiskers, what are you doing?
Can't catch a break. He's digging through the trash.
Mr. Alfred Whiskers?
He's digging through the trash. Get out of there.
He's a raccoon.
Should have known he was a bad guy. He's got a bandana around his eyes. He's a thief.
Hiss.
Is that Albert?
You ever had...
Is that what he sounds like?
Yeah, you ever had a raccoon hiss at you?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said yes. Is that you, Albert?
Complete
is that you?
Global.
Yes.
Hiss.
So I'm imagining we start with a very, like a rainy nighttime Raccoon City where they're like prepping to go out. So we're not starting right off the bat. They're at the helicopter, but like, we want to set up that it's dreary. I like the idea, like you said, Raccoon City's it is what it is. It's a kind of a crappy little town. It's raining, it's dirty a little bit.
But it's home.
But it's home.
It's like Gotham City.
Kind of like Gotham. Yeah, that's a good comparison. So let's talk about our characters. So there's kind of 5 main characters that are in the Stars unit. There's a couple more later on we'll get to. So there's Jill Valentine, of course. There's Chris Redfield, who basically are palette swaps. They have slight variations in their stories, depending on which one you pick.
Is that something that can be expanded upon, where we can kind of give them more unique characters through the form of a movie?
We could, yeah. I was thinking we could do an A plot, B plot kind of thing with them. But
okay.
The problem with that is that they're both in the mansion, and it's not like it's not the biggest mansion, so it would be kind of silly to be like, where's Chris?
Here's a suggestion.
Like upstairs.
Yeah, here's a suggestion to kind of slightly solve that.
Which is what it is in the game.
Right. Well, in the game, if what you told me was correct, you get to pick which one you play as, and then you kind of go off and do your own thing.
You pick which one you play as, and the one you didn't pick basically gets lost as you're running to the mansion. And your quest is to A, find the other person, B, escape.
Okay, and where do you find the other person?
You only find them at the very end. They're locked up in the lab. I believe Wesker puts them in there.
Okay. Do we want to go with that route? Because then we would have to... Well, no. In that case, then we would have to kind of select who's going to be the protagonist, Right. And I feel like that could be a bit of a divisive...
I think there is a way to make an A plot, B plot work. So, A plot... Let's say Jill is our A plot.
Okay.
She's in the mansion with another Stars guy named Barry, who we'll get into Barry later. Barry's interesting. Barry's kind of an older, like I wouldn't say father figure, but maybe older brother kind of character to Jill.
Yeah.
So he's kind of with her for not a majority of the game, but most of the cutscenes with Jill, you also have Barry there. Now Chris meets up with Rebecca, the character from Resident Evil 0. She's a rookie, so she's kind of scared, and they have their plot. So what we could do is we could have Jill and Barry in the main mansion, and then we could put Chris and Rebecca somewhere else in the estate.
I think if we did that, we could do that, and we could still have Chris and Rebecca encounter Wesker in a bad way.
Yeah,
and since that makes Jill the A-plot, then we can have it to where Jill has to kind of come to the rescue of that, or find that out later. Not in the sense that she knows what's going on and she's coming to save them, but that she stumbles upon it. And it's like, wait, whoa! But as the audience, we know what's happened because we've seen the B-plot. So,
yeah, they can. Okay, so there's. Let me kind of break down the estate, the Spencer estate, I believe it is. So you have the main mansion. In the back of it, you have that leads you to the gardens.
Okay.
Which kind of splits. There's a fork in the road. One of them on the right goes to the guest house.
Ooh.
I believe it is, which is kind of a smaller guest house. Like a guest house.
That's a good. That's a callback to another series with a guest house.
Yeah, there you go. This one not getting crushed by a tank though. Under the guest house is some sort of thing with giant sharks in it. I'm not sure what the purpose of it is. And then on the left of that fork, you have this kind of creepy cabin, which is Lydia's house.
Creepy cabin.
And Lydia is a monster who's...
Now, are we talking figuratively or literally?
She's like a hunched over woman with her hands have like a cinder block keeping them together.
Oh, jeez.
And she's got like chains and stuff, and I believe she has like a tentacle because these things always got tentacles or eyeballs or something. So that's where she kind of hangs out. And then you also have the main lab, which is where the zombies had the outbreak in.
Okay.
So that's kind of the breakdown. So I think if we have Jill in the main mansion, we can put Chris and Rebecca kind of towards the back part of the mansion, maybe into the guest house. And then by the time Jill actually reaches that, they've already gotten kidnapped by Wesker.
Okay.
So let's talk character arcs.
Okay.
So we got Jill and we got Chris.
What are their personalities from what the game expresses?
So Chris is cool. He got big muscles. Nothing bothers him. That's Chris pretty much throughout most of the games. He's big and he's cool. Jill
is big and cool. Not to be confused with someone who's just big or just cool.
Jill is, I believe she's also a rookie. So you can kind of do the newer, not first day on the job kind of thing, but
here's your first day on the job, zombies.
The naivete. Hey, that's Leon's first day on the job at Resident Evil 2. You can have kind of the innocence of Jill. We could play with that.
Okay.
Chris is going to be a little harder because he's not really a character.
He's just a stereotype, pretty much.
He's just a big guy with big muscles and very strong. I mean, we could do the innocent into not innocent thing. We've done that before. I think we could get darker with it though. Where instead of we kind of did with Minecraft, where it was a naivete into heroism.
Yeah.
We can do innocent into killing machine. Where it's slowly over the course, Jill kills the first couple of zombies. She's very shaken. By the end, she's blasting. She doesn't care. Total disregard for unhuman life.
Do you feel that would be... Because I feel like almost that would turn it reverse. That would still make it a thriller, but it would make it definitely more of a horror for her changing character to be like that.
Well, I don't really know what other arc she could have.
I would say it's unique, that's for sure. And I don't... Well, okay, I know, it's been done before. But I think it's unique
for us.
Yeah.
So far.
You know what? Let's do it.
All right. We can flush it out.
Yeah, we can dampen it where we need to. So
now Chris is cool. He doesn't give us a lot of work with.
Obviously, I don't think we're going to go the route of making him so cool that he is a kind of a caricature of that. I think we should go the route where maybe he's good at what he does, or at least he thinks he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, he is good. What I'm saying, he is decent at what he does. He's not the best, but we can give him a little bit of a cockiness, or maybe a little bit of instead of cockiness, what would be the other one? When
pride?
No, like independence. But there's another word for that, where it's like the reason why he would be more apt to go off and do something on his own is not because he's so prideful, but because he does believe that he works better alone, not to the offense of anybody else, just to the fact that he is kind of
that's not really a Chris thing. No. I think we can still work with that though.
You think the pride
he just
would
has
fit
like
him
an independent. Well, I think just maybe like a carelessness, because so he's protecting Rebecca, who is A, a medic, and B, a rookie. So not fit for combat, and maybe Chris can be kind of almost careless with like kind of bringing her into danger. So over the course, his arc can be kind of be more considerate.
I like that, because that pretty much would make a really, really solid ending, where it would pretty much be like, or not a solid ending, but a solid last quarter where or final third. How does that division go?
Yeah, we do thirds in movies.
Sorry,
but
jeez.
Right.
The final third, pretty much, where he realizes his mistake, he basically lets that get him caught by, Mr. Whisker.
Yeah.
and that kind of would reveal to him his mistakes. And not like that it's going to be like this big learning moment, because it's so close to the end. But it would be this opening up of like, yep, you messed up, here's the consequence of that. You were careless, here's the consequence. You almost got Rebecca killed. Also, is Rebecca important at any other point in the series?
No.
Can we kill her?
I would prefer not to, but we could.
If you would prefer not to, I'll go with your judgment there. But I do think if we want to make a really big consequence, that would be a good one. Just keep that in mind.
We could. So there is actually a point in the game where you have the choice to. So a hunter. So hunter is one of the monsters. It's kind of like a walking lizard kind of guy with big claws. You have the choice to either kill the hunter that's attacking Rebecca, or I guess leave her for dead if you want. So we could work with that.
So there is actually a place in the game where she can
the option,
die.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't think it should be the option. Should be the point at which we kill her.
Chris walks away. Yeah, it may be unpopular. Rebecca's kind of not a fan favorite. People like her, I guess. She don't really do anything.
Exactly. That's kind of the thing. Is it's like there is the fan option where it's like, oh, we keep a cool fan favorite alive, or maybe we do have something happen to her that's still pretty consequential. We don't necessarily have to kill her, but what if we I don't know, what if we get her severely injured? Disfigure her, make her lose an arm, make her get hit with some kind of monster serum. Right.
You're really throwing Rebecca under the bus here. Under the train, so to speak. Well, yeah. We'll come back to that. Let's flesh out the Jill plot first.
All right.
The main problem right now is that most of the game, what makes Resident Evil 1 so great, is you're walking around in an empty mansion, and you kind of it's just that sense of exploration and discovery. That is hard to encapsulate in a movie, though. So I guess the big question is how do we kind of flesh out that big first chunk where you're just kind of walking through a mansion collecting keys and unlocking doors and such?
All right, go ahead and give me a small list of monsters that are important to the game. Obviously, in a movie, we don't have boss battles. You know what I mean? So what are monsters that you encounter that are big issues, big hazards?
So you have zombies. Of course, classic zombie. If you kill a zombie and don't burn its body, later on it turns into, I believe it's called a crimson zombie, which it runs fast and does more damage. So you have those two. You have the hunters, which show up pretty late into the game. You have the dogs, and then that's pretty much it. You have the one-off enemies. You have the sharks. You have the plants. There's like hornets, the spider, big spider. There's not too many monsters aside from the zombie, but those are hard enough to kill as is.
From your experience with the Resident Evil game, the first one, does it feel like a horde of zombies, or does it feel like more methodically placed, like this would be a realistic staff for a mansion?
I mean, this is the outbreak.
This is where it started.
You're in a remote mansion in the woods. Yeah, so it's not going to be, you're not looking at hundreds of zombies. You're looking at probably across the game, maybe 50.
Okay. All right. I like that. I think we don't even have to have a full 50 or whatever in our thing. Right. I think we showcase more or less that the zombies are people who are just affected by this area. I think we can obviously have Team Alpha be zombies.
Except Rebecca. Well, that not 100%. Mostly all dead.
Do we want Alpha to be zombies? Like, present?
They are zombies.
So you actually do encounter them in the first one?
Yeah, I believe the minor characters I get mixed up because there's some in Bravo and there's some in Alpha and they all kind of blend together.
Yeah.
But they're you find some of them still alive but like really badly wounded, and then they die and turn into zombies. So let's walk through kind of without getting into Chris, because we'll obviously have the A plot and the B plot intersect later.
We'll do Jill's A right now.
Yeah. So they walk into the mansion. Originally, if you play as Jill, it's you, Wesker, who you don't know is evil yet, and Barry. Wesker just says, I'm going to go see what's over here, and you don't see him again for like the rest of the game. And then you and Barry kind of stick together for the beginning. You walk to the left, which is this kind of dining room. There's blood on the floor. Barry says, look at that blood. You think it's Chris's blood? Jill says, I don't know. Barry says, I'm going to go stare at this blood for the next, 3 hours. Why don't you keep exploring? And then you go through the next door, and that's your first zombie encounter.
Okay. I think easy way to transfer that into a movie is just they split up outside of the mansion, of course, like you said. So you
have Wesker, Barry, and Jill inside.
You get the two sub-teams, I guess, or whatever. Instead of Barry looking at the blood, for a good portion of the game.
Let's cut it down by a couple hours.
Let's have it be where he still follows Jill. Not that Jill needs somebody.
When you're in a strange mansion with blood on the floor, that might be Chris's blood. You stick together. All right. So they encountered their first. I mean, obviously, like Portal, we're gonna take this one pretty slow.
Yeah.
Really build up that atmosphere, build up that mystery. Yeah, they see the blood, they go in. I think they experience their first zombie. I think there's gonna be a bit of a. Oh, the zombies also is actively eating an alpha member when you find that first zombie.
I think All right, that works. That works out really well.
I think there should be a bit of a kind of moral debate. You know how it is with zombie movies sometimes, where it's like shoot them, but it's like that's a person. You can have that with Barry and Jill.
But they're cops.
Well, but remember, Jill is a rookie.
She is a rookie, but wouldn't she understand in a place like Raccoon City? I think the hesitation wouldn't be that's a person. I think the hesitation would be what is that?
That's fair.
Because it's eating. Yeah. It's like right. it's eating somebody. Its skin does not look human.
It's scary looking.
Looking. And then afterward, when you get a better look at it, that's when the moral question can set in. It's like,
okay, I'm fine with that.
Or this is or was a person. And then that brings in the question. They can kind of muse aloud and be like, well, what is this?
So they kill a zombie. The alpha member you see has a videotape on him conveniently.
Oh, cool, VHS. And this mansion just conveniently has a VHS player.
Well, it is the 90s. Yeah.
I think we could...
It is like
is Raccoon City
1996.
Separate from its time period? Is it a more...
No, it's the game... I mean, the time period is 1996.
And the technology is relevant to that?
It is 1996 technology.
Okay, so we could say it's like a camcorder, like an 8mm or something.
Whatever people had.
But no. If it was recorded through a camcorder, it'd probably be an 8mm or some other. It looks like a cassette, like an audio cassette, but it is it's video.
Whatever it is, should they watch it?
How would they watch it?
Should we keep? Well, if it's on a camcorder, can't they just play it back?
Oh, so is it on a camcorder in the game?
I don't remember.
I think we can give him a camcorder. I mean, what is the video showcase?
Just kind of them coming upon the mansion, getting attacked by zombies. Basic stuff.
Let's say that this special team would have somebody who would be there to record the events because of the nature of the team of stars.
Sure.
So I would say we can just give him a camcorder. And we can even make it a little convenient, even though, yeah, it's 1990. We can make it some kind of like shoulder camcorder, you know?
Yeah, or a body cam
body
thing.
cam, but of course...
Did those exist back then? Maybe.
Not in the same way that they exist now, that's for sure. But hey, doesn't matter, because we can create it. And
they could exist.
We've got crazy monster zombies. I think we can create some kind of tape recording camera footage.
I like that better than like, let's check his shoulder cam versus... look, a camcorder. What? Let's find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So basically the next big chunk of the game is kind of weird. So you collect 3 different keys that unlock different types of doors. You collect 4 different masks that go... There's a graveyard kind of in the middle of the house.
So like like the mansion is like one of those like squares where it's like a fort and there's a courtyard in the middle.
It's more like a U.
Oh, okay.
I believe. It's been a while since I played, but I think that's.
Yeah, but there's a courtyard with a graveyard.
The point is, there's a graveyard, and there's stairs leading down, and you put the masks in there, and when you put them all in, there's a grave hung up by chains, and the chains release and you fight a big zombie. It's dumb, and I don't think we should keep it, but that's what happens.
I mean,
there's definitely a better way to do it.
What happens after you fight that zombie? Like, what is the reason in the game for fighting that zombie?
I believe he drops an emblem which you can use to get into the gardens.
All right, I think we can shorten that.
I think we should cut the masks.
That's exactly what I meant. I think
it's pretty dumb.
I think the keys...
I mean, it's fine in the game, but
the keys we can work with, not in the same sense of how they are obtained in the game, obviously,
right.
But I think we can work with the keys of being like, if we imply that the zombies are servants, say they are people who worked in the house, we could literally have one zombie have the keys. Yeah. And it could be like, maybe there's an area that they can't open. They encounter a zombie almost immediately. It's like, oh, there's the keys. Not for the sake of convenience as much as it makes sense. These would be people who would run the house. So they're going to have keys.
I think we could set it up. So the door to the gardens, you have to put this emblem, which is the umbrella logo, conveniently enough. You have to put it inside the door and it unlocks. Yeah, weird. So I think we need to set that up before we get the emblem. Just like, here's kind of the goal for the time being.
Yeah.
And maybe Barry can try to like shoulder open the door, but like we clearly demonstrate that that's not going to work.
Is Barry a more comedic character intentionally, or is it just the voice acting of the game that makes him that way?
He's a little goofster. He's a dad, so.
Oh, okay. Then I think we can totally make him the comic relief. Still a serious enough character. Like when I say comic relief, I don't mean Jar Jar Binks here. I mean like he is a serious character in the fact that he's a cop. But he's also a goofy character in comparison to somebody like Chris or Jill.
He's the lighter tone, and then Rebecca will be the lighter tone for Chris, just so it's not all dour all the time.
I don't know if Rebecca would be the lighter tone, and here's my...
Well, not lighter as in comedic, just like lighter.
What if Chris tries to be the lighter tone?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I feel like she's going to be traumatized. She's not really going to be wanting to... I don't know how she is in the games. Maybe she shakes it off. She's like, I'm a medic. I've seen.
Actually, that's a good. Yeah, she's pretty shaken.
So if she's shaken, we could have Chris we build up his character a little bit, and he tries to be more understanding and fails, but in a funny way.
He's an older brother, like in real life. Well, not he has a younger sister, so he can kind of treat. He could kind of treat Rebecca like like his sister, kind of
Hey,
be jokey.
I know. Your friends got eaten. They were my friends, too. Hey, just...
Chin up.
Look over... Don't look over there. That's a zombie. Look at me.
That's a zombie. Look up there. Ooh, what's...
That's a...
Oh, that's a zombie, too. I think... So we have the goal to get the emblem. I think we should have a kind of, we don't want them just, like, focused on the goal. I think we should have some character development between Jill and Barry. they play off themselves. Maybe they don't know each other very well, so they're kind of forming a camaraderie.
Yeah, I think Barry would be trying, since she's new, he would be trying in the same way he would try with his kids, almost, I think. And, because we've all been there. If you've worked with somebody who's a dad, they will... Okay, at least in our experience, because we're young, spry guys.
We're little boys.
They will treat you like a child, but not intentionally, not in a rude way, just in a, hey, that's how I communicate with these youngsters kind of way.
Well, maybe that could be a point of contention between them. At first, when Jill's kind of more innocent, it's not too bad, but as she, gets more angry, she could, turn on Barry, and she's like, stop treating me like that, you Barry. I
almost feel like we should flip it. And here's why. I think maybe in the beginning, she's just kind of like, look, I got this job. I may be a rookie, but I'm not in need of babying. And I'm not saying that she becomes that way, but I'm saying maybe she changes. She gets to the point where this just really does mess with her. Her innocence is lost. And at the end, her only solace is kind of, we could have a thing, with Barry where he just kind of puts his arm around her, understands this is how you console somebody, Because he's also seen a lot more crap,
Barry betrays him too.
Really? Oh, no.
Sorry, maybe I should have.
You should have definitely said that.
I should have said that first. Barry, I mean, if it helps, it's for a good reason, and he sacrifices himself.
Okay, well then if he's not there at the end, I guess then that we can go with your route. That would make a lot, because then that would be a pushing factor, Not so much pushing for Barry to betray, but pushing for, okay, now we don't necessarily feel as connected with these two characters.
Right.
Okay, first of all, I need you to do a quick explanation of how and why Barry betrays. Is he betraying from the beginning, or is he...
So yeah, Barry actually was in on it from the beginning. So like I said, this is kind of like a testing ground for the zombies and the virus, So Barry is blackmailed by Wesker. He's kind of holding his family hostage. So Barry not only tries to remove evidence that Wesker is doing what he's doing, but he's also trying to trap Jill in these fun scenarios to basically test out these big monsters.
Oh man, how does he sacrifice himself at the end?
So now there's actually two. There's another choice, but the one I like is, so Lydia is this, like I mentioned, she's kind of scary. She's kind of the main. Yeah. She's the main monster. Yeah, and she comes out and kind of throughout the mansion and the gardens sometimes. So Jill's fighting Lydia. It's going very badly, and then Barry comes in, knocks her off, or he grapples her, tackles her. They both go off the edge and die. All
right. I like that option for the movie. The reason why I think that would be a very good thing to do is we do set up the whole thing at the end where it's like, wait, you were on his side the whole time, or you both were on the wrong side the whole time. And maybe Barry does realize, this was way messed up. I've now gotten to know Jill, while trying to get her to die, but I've gotten to know Jill.
That's all right.
And I feel like this was wrong. And so now I'm going to redeem myself. And I think that's going to be something the audience can say, I don't really like this guy still. But we give them that, we give him that
the resolution. Yeah. Well, I mean, if we also still have Jill kind of get mad at him for treating her like a kid, that only will be exacerbated in a good way by him ultimately betraying it. So we're already kind of annoyed with him.
Right.
And it's I knew something was up with this guy.
Him treating her like a kid could also be in the point of guiding. Not to say that Jill would know any better, but where he's like, hey, we need to go this way, rookie. We need to do this. Treating her like she doesn't know what she's doing. Deep down, she knows this is what she needs to do, but he is intentionally drawing her away.
And also leading her into traps.
Exactly. Oh, I like that.
Oh, no, a big spider. Ooh.
Oh, man. And then that could be kind of the breaking point for the contention. It would be like, look, I've done this. I know what I'm doing. And you keep leading us into danger.
Stop talking to me like I'm a kid. Yeah. I think they should, should they, split up? Should Jill just be like, I'm done with you and just walk away?
I think so. Because you leave Barry for multiple points in the game.
I think that's at the point where I think that's at the point where she's feeling pretty bad right now. She's been killing these monsters. And then when she fights Lydia, all that comes crashing down. but then Barry's there to save her. And then, she can have that appreciation. She's like, I couldn't do it alone, even though the guy's dead now, but I couldn't do it alone. Yeah, she kind of sobers up a little.
Yeah, she sobers up. Barry sobers and dies.
Barry dies.
Chris is
it's all good.
Captured, and I think Rebecca, something happens.
Yeah, let's get a Chris. And then I still think Chris should ultimately be captured. We'll get into Chris and Rebecca in a sec.
Definitely.
And then, so basically from after the fight where Barry dies, Jill goes into the lab. She finds Chris is locked up. Chris kind of tells her what's going on. She encounters Wesker, fights the tyrant, and then frees Chris, and they escape.
Now, in the game, if you're playing through Jill's story, do you know that Barry has done wrong before he sacrifices himself?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Do we want to keep it that way, or, and here's an option, just as thinking.
I think we do.
Okay. I think we can. But I think a possible option, since we're having a definitive A plot and B plot, what if we have when Barry and Jill split up, we get to see Barry talking with Wesker, and we see it through Chris's perspective.
We actually do. I'm glad you mentioned
that. So then maybe Jill doesn't know. And when Chris reveals that later, Jill could have that kind of moral, like that's when another moral point where she's just like, huh. What?
So she suspects, but she doesn't have confirmation until Chris tells her.
And then she realizes, and maybe she keeps it to herself that he sacrificed himself or something. I don't know, because that's a really hard point when you. This is something that I think is very potent in reality. Is when you idolize somebody for something they did, a heroic act. I think about that. That would be a really interesting point to pull into this, where it's like Jill has to. It might be a bit much.
Well, no, I like it. I think if Jill knows, it makes Barry's sacrifice more poignant.
Yeah.
If Jill knows beforehand, maybe. So in the game, actually, Barry and Chris are like really tight. So maybe Jill tells Chris that Barry's dead. Chris is heartbroken, but Jill keeps the betrayal to herself.
Ooh. All right.
So it still kind of works.
So then, how do we see Wesker and Barry communicating in the game?
So in the game, you're in the guest house and you just hear their voices in like in a nearby room as you're kind of exploring.
Yeah.
So we could keep that.
I definitely think we should keep that, and then that would be on Jill's A plot.
Yeah, Jill split off from Barry,
and then she basically doesn't know what it is, so gets into sneak mode, and then gets closer.
Right.
And then hears this, and she stops and just listens. She doesn't announce herself. She doesn't, she's not like, oh, hey guys, what's up? She just kind of listens because it's
right.
What are they talking about? She
right.
finds out.
To her, she's like, these are two members of my team. What's going on?
Then I think she should back off from there. I don't know how it happens in the game, but I feel like at that point she should back off from there and feel like, okay, I gotta find Chris. I don't know what else is left. I don't know who's on my side.
Yeah, she's like,
anymore.
I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to trust anymore. I like that. Yeah, that can be your Act 2 kind of downfall where Jill realizes she doesn't know who to trust. But Chris seems cool.
I think when Barry sacrifices himself, we should make it a little more apparent. Like, maybe...
That he dies?
No. That Jill... Like, okay. Because what I think is a possibility we could do is they encounter Lydia, or Jill encounters Lydia. Is doing her best, is failing, Barry comes in, and we can make his he comes in and there's a bit more of a struggle, so it's not just very quickly, and we can kind of just showcase
right.
I don't know if we want to have dialogue. I don't think dialogue's necessary, but we showcase that Jill is really confused because she just heard about this, and I think we can even give Barry a little bit of hesitancy when he's talking to Wesker, or do the thing that all...
Well, right. He's being blackmailed because his family's basically... Wesker tells him his family's in danger.
Yeah, because it'd be basically
so that's
something
all Barry,
like...
Yeah, like Barry's a good guy. He don't want his kids to die.
Exactly. And we can showcase that when she's overhearing the conversation, and then we can see kind of her confusion when Barry jumps out to do this, and then it just happens. It's just he's gone, she's gone. I think we don't even have to wrap that up. I think we just say they're out of the picture. People have died in this movie. We're good with that.
Yeah. That's one of those things where there's endings, so it's hard to say what the canon one is. There is one where he lives. There's one where he dies. There's one where he escapes with you. But I like the one where he dies.
Yeah.
I think that it symbolizes kind of the end of Jill's innocence.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as well as wrapping up kind of these loose ends of are these characters evil? No, but you really don't have to debate that anymore because they're dead.
Well, Wesker is.
Well, Wesker's evil.
Wesker is
Wesker wants to milk pigeons. I don't care, but
yeah. So I think, but yeah, Barry should tell her. I didn't want to. Wesker said he had my kids. So Jill realizes, okay, Wesker's the real bad guy here. So she's fired up. She's ready to go kick Wesker's butt. So she's going into the fight with rage. It is revealed later, though, that it was all a bluff on Wesker's part. I don't know if we need to bring that in.
Oh, no, definitely not.
But
I think that could be
a thing.
Well, I mean, because I feel like, what purpose does it have for it to be a bluff? Unless Wesker's really just toying with everybody. He's like, but it was a bluff, so he died for nothing to save you and everybody else. You're all so really stupid. Work. No, doesn't work.
It can be a bluff in the fiction, but we just won't tell anybody.
Exactly. Well, and like I said, if we open this up to sequels later, depending on how Wesker's character develops throughout the games, as far as I know, he gets insane. He just gets worse.
Everyone really goes insane, if we're going to be fair. All right, so Jill goes into the lab. She finds Chris. She fights Wesker. She fights Tyrant. She frees Chris. I believe the Tyrant comes back up as you're contacting Brett, who is the helicopter pilot. And there's where every Resident Evil ends with you blowing up the monster with an RPG. So obviously we got to keep that. So that's Jill. So let's talk about Chris and Rebecca.
All right.
I still don't want Rebecca to die.
I'm fine with that. I would prefer that she gets something. The only reason why is because I feel
we can do something to her. I just don't want her to die.
Because I want there to be the consequence
of Chris's or lack of protection.
Exactly. He thinks that maybe he even I don't know. I don't know how to word this exactly, but maybe he thinks it's up to everybody to protect himself. He's like.
Well, I think it works better if he's trying to protect her. He just does like a bad job. He's overlooking stuff, like he's not. He says he's protecting her, but he's really just protecting himself.
Ooh, okay, I'm fine with that. It's a little more of a selfish route, but I like the idea.
Not in an ill-intentioned way. That's just like he's just not thinking when he's in. Well,
and we can showcase it more of maybe he's good in normal criminal situations, but this is just so out of his understanding. He thinks he's chill, he thinks he's cool, not to a comical point, but like, okay, you think about military, right? If you have some sergeant, who's really just oh man, just a real jerk, but he's good at his job, he doesn't care that he's a jerk. Because he's good at his job. You take him and you put him in a situation that is completely outside of not only his jurisdiction, but his skill set, he's going to be lost. He's not going to be able to do the things that he normally would be able to do. He's not going to know how to deal with it. He's either going to feel like less of an individual, or he's going to try and man up to say, no, I can do this, and then fail at it. And I think if we go with that route for Chris, where he's like, there's obviously a point where he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to deal with these zombies and these monsters, but he tries, and he fails.
What if we just have Rebecca also get captured?
That's what I thought from the beginning, too. If that's not how it happens in the game, that's fine.
They're both. I
think having her captured...
It's because of Chris.
Yeah.
It's because of Chris that Rebecca gets captured. And then, he's trying to redeem himself. He also gets captured.
I like that, too. I like that, because I feel like then there's his development, and then his development doesn't have to end with him becoming the hero. It ends with him just proving that he's going to do better. He's going to try.
We can see at the end, once they're free and the Tyrant comes back, we can see that he's more protective of Rebecca and even Jill.
I like that, yeah. But of course, Jill's also ready to kill at this point, so...
Yeah, I believe in the game... Chris, if you're playing as Jill, you free Chris. Chris actually just goes and kills the final boss for you. Like you don't even see it. He's just like, I'll be right back. And then he comes back in like a minute, and he's like, all right, he says, let's get out of here.
So what happens if you're playing as Chris? Then do you go and fight it as Chris?
I just think you fight. I'm not sure. I've not played as, or I've not finished it as Chris.
And the final boss is the Tyrant, right?
Yeah, kind of Mr. X looking kind of
like a proto Mr. X.
Basically, yeah.
I think if we do that, which I'm not against, obviously not in the way that the game does it, let me specify. I think if we do the route where once Chris gets freed, we can showcase maybe he's like, now he's overreaching, not in a bad way, but like that's where we bring in like, normally everybody was just using their police, requirement. It's like everybody's got their gun and their rifle.
Pistol,
maybe a shotgun.
Well, you do find, and this is a video game kind of thing, you do find grenade launcher and shotgun.
I think we can kind of push some of those out, but we can say when the helicopter comes, we could say the helicopter has that.
Yeah,
and so, like,
I can't remember 100% what happened.
He's just over. He's like, that's it. If this normal stuff isn't working, I'm taking things to the next step. I'm not relying on my own abilities. I'm going over.
I think it makes sense if Jill would use the RPG while Chris protects Rebecca.
I'm fine with that. That works.
Chris is a little more on the defense.
Because then I feel like,
Jill's just like kills him.
Jill's like, I'm done with this. I don't care what I have to use.
Jill says, I see something moving. I'm going to kill it.
There's no remorse.
So let's work on Chris and Rebecca real quick.
Right.
So they start in the guest house. Chris somehow gets cornered by a dog or something as they're all running, has to switch directions.
Yeah.
He finds Rebecca. They start taking care of him. What should kind of their progression be, do you think?
I think we should keep them both together until Rebecca's captured.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think at this point it should be more like we have. Obviously, it's going to take them a lot less screen time than Jill. Right. At least a good bit less, I would say.
Some less, yeah. It's the B plot.
Right. I think we're going to have...
We really use it when we need a break from the A plot. That's the main purpose of the B plot.
We're gonna have
to
Chris,
give us a bit.
Basically, we could have him basically split off from the beginning. Say they're going around, he's gonna flank from the other side or whatever. Because they're like a SWAT team in a way.
However they get separated.
Because they're like, okay, this other team got wiped out.
Well, I mean, they're in panic mode when they're running.
Right, exactly. Like this team got wiped out, so they're heading towards the point. I think we can show a little bit more of. Ooh, what role does Wesker play in the team?
I think he's the leader.
Perfect. What if he deliberately tells, like he knows Chris is pretty good, so he deliberately tells him, like, okay, you need to go around that side, you need to go there. It's like, got it. And so it's very militaristic kind of at first, very SWAT-like, because they're a police department.
That works.
And then, as they get separated, as per Wesker's plan, everybody becomes so much weaker. So obviously Barry's on his side under that. So he can leave Barry with Jill and kind of use that to guide Jill to where he needs to go. But if he straight off sends Chris and he's like, all right, Chris, and these other teams, he literally separates them. But he, as we see it from the beginning, as the audience who has not played Resident Evil, knows that Wesker is bad. We don't know that. So we say, okay, it's tactical. He's trying to flank the building.
It's tactical.
And he says, hey, our crew's in there. We saw the helicopter was down at that point. You go that way. You go that way. Meet at this point, And if you encounter anything, call it in.
Right. So I think Chris's progression with Rebecca should be a lot less movement, just him kind of trying to take care of her. Put some danger, zombies and spiders and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like, by and large, I think we could spend a fair amount of time in the guest house. Maybe Chris is the one that goes and finds the underwater sharks under the guest house. Whereas Jill's only there to hear the conversation between Wesker and Barry.
I think that would be fine. Does the guest house connect to the mansion?
I don't think so. Okay. I think the only way through is up top through the garden.
Okay. I think then, here's a suggestion. And if this throws it too much off of the game, stop me. So Chris is sent off. He encounters maybe he's trying to get in. He's trying to flank around at one side. And he encounters the wolf. He can't get into the mansion from the side he's supposed to be in on. Or the zombie dog, not wolf. What if we throw Chris out of his element really early on? What if he shoots it once?
Runs out of bullets.
Or he does a double tap or something, right? Regular police, shoots it. It goes down. So he thinks, what, that dog looks kind of funny. Like, that's...
He's like, oh, it's dead.
Rabies?
Yeah,
what's up, And then it gets up. And starts coming towards him again. And I don't mean, I'm not trying to say, because people say, oh, that's a little too far-fetched for the game. I think if we imply...
No, that happens. That's a mechanic.
Okay, perfect.
You shoot a zombie, it goes down, you're like, all right, that was easy. It gets back up, you say, oh.
All right, I like that, actually. And we can introduce that even earlier than we introduce...
Yeah. Well, let's have him, maybe he should get bit. No, not bit like in a zombie way, but like attacked by the wolf, or the dog. Now I'm doing it. So when he finds Rebecca, they can have some moment where she's healing him up. get a little character development in there.
What does the lore say if a zombie dog bites you? What happens to you?
I don't know. Chris and Jill are immune, as far as I know, to all forms of zombies.
Because they can't get bitten, and
because they get bit so many times. If I'm playing, they don't turn.
All right, then I think we could do that. We could even, if we want to make the fans happy, we could even have it be like a claw, or something that would be like, oh, this is a very harsh, very damaging attack.
Yeah, just gets him on the forearm. Yeah, pretty deep cut. I think he still kills the dog, but maybe it's his shooting arm. So he's kind of, like you said, he's out of his element.
I really like the idea. You said run out of bullets. What if he just unloads the rest of his pistol into this?
Well, I mean, yeah,
he has another magazine. He just
has like one clip.
Now he's really low. Like he's only got one other clip, like on this thing or whatever,
Yeah. Or you could have him lose his tactical vest or whatever, just so he only has a couple of bullets left.
I like that, yeah. Because then that would also create the fear of if he's now he doesn't feel. I don't know, because this is going to sound weird to say, but of course, if you're wearing body armor, you feel a little more confident. You're out there. You're gonna do your job and save people.
You can take a shot.
You can take a shot. Now that he doesn't have that, he's going to feel a lot less secure. So he's also going to be overthinking everything, which is going to lead to him failing to protect Rebecca, because he's going to think, oh well, I need to protect myself too, because I don't have my body armor.
I think I'm good with that. So. Let's say Chris goes underground. I think he should find out about the main lab, which is under the gardens.
Okay.
I think they should head there. And that's when they get kidnapped. Or that's when Rebecca gets captured. And then, Chris also gets captured differently.
Okay.
We can work on that. We can work on that.
I think Chris should get captured in a very more this is just throwing this out there just out front. I think Chris could get captured more directly
on purpose.
No, not necessarily. Like he could be. Where are the holding cells?
They're in the lab.
Perfect. He could make his way to the lab, and then it's basically just it's too much, for him to get there.
I think he should discover Wesker.
Oh, definitely.
He should find out what Wesker's up to, and then he gets captured, like while talking to Wesker. Wesker knocks him out. Puts a syringe in his neck,
that would be that would actually be perfect if we have it where Wesker seems like he's still on the good guy side for Chris.
On the team. He's like,
he'd be like,
hey,
I found
Chris.
Rebecca, she got taken by a monster or whatever. And it's like, we gotta, I'm hoping she's alive. We gotta find her. He's kind of panicking, of course. And, Wesker could literally come up and be like, dude, calm down. And just like stabs him, in the neck or whatever.
Yeah, I like that. And then, like we said, Jill finds him. Defeats Wesker, because obviously Wesker would have the key to get Chris and Rebecca out. Fights the Tyrant, phase 1. Saves Chris, Rebecca. They go up top. Tyrant, phase 2. Jill goes Rambo on him with RPG.
She takes black paint, puts it under her eyes, wraps a bandana around her head.
Blows them up, and then they get on the helicopter, which is piloted by the Bravo team pilot. Who fled upon discovery of the zombies, and then they go back to Raccoon City. Now, how should it end? Should it end with them flying back to Raccoon City?
I think it should totally end with them flying back. And the reason why is that may sound kind of like a cliche. It's open enough for a sequel, but at the same time, it's like, is this really the end? Question 1 is this really the end? Question 2 is, what is the moral ramifications of what we've just done, of what we've just discovered?
Right.
What does it say about the people who have done this, and what does it say about us?
And also, in the game, it's like, so Umbrella is basically the big supplier.
Yeah, it's big pharma.
Sorry. It's the big employer in Raccoon City.
Oh.
So it's like the when you're going into town that says, welcome to Raccoon City, home of Umbrella Pharmaceuticals. So I think there's be that sense, at least for sequel bait, where it's like, we got to find a way to stop Umbrella. We got to blow this whole thing open. So 2 happens 3 months later with totally new characters.
Okay.
And it's zombie outbreak in the city, basically.
Yeah.
So what happens is Jill, so the police chief is named Chief Irons. Jill and Chris, Chris disappears. We don't get into what happened to Chris. Jill basically tries to blow it open, and Chief Iron tries to put it all under the rug. Because he's employed, he's taking money from Umbrella.
Oh, okay. Then okay,
but I don't think we need to touch on any of that.
No, Because for that, if we want to go with that, and have that sequel bait, then I think we can just straight up imply Jill could be like, we've got to, uncover this, we got to do whatever. And we could say Chris at this point is so shaken up, and so he could just be like, I don't know. I just need to leave. I just need to get out of here.
I need a vacation to go to Europe or somewhere and write a cryptic note on my desk, leave it for my sister to find.
But no, we open that up to where it's obvious. If you know the story, you're going to say, oh, that's a nice touch. Right. But then we also have it where it does end, for anybody who doesn't, it ends in the sense of, wow, these people have changed. Chris, who was the individual who thought he was great at his job, was going to do everything to help justice and the law, is now so shaken up that he doesn't necessarily want to keep doing this. And then Jill, on the other hand, has been reinvigorated.
She's fired up.
Yeah.
I like that. And then Rebecca is there. All right, well, that's the Resident Evil movie. I think, obviously you can't call it Resident Evil because that one already got made. We could call it Biohazard, which is
I was actually going to say that.
Its name in Japan, yeah.
I like that idea. I think if we call it anything, we could call it Resident Evil Biohazard for consistency's sake.
Well, I mean, that's what the games do, too. Resident Evil 7, I believe, is Resident Evil Biohazard 7.
That's a little weird.
It's
that part is a little weird.
It gets kind of Kingdom Heartsy there with the naming.
If we were to straight up just call it Biohazard, I feel like that would give a different vibe to the movie. Because I'll be honest, Resident Evil, it kind of fits the theme of there's this big old house with a bunch of monsters.
There's a resident and it's evil.
Yeah, exactly. Biohazard kind of fits in my mind with the line of 2 better. The idea of, or 3, or whatever one where the city actually becomes infested.
Both of them. You're right on both.
So I'll say
there was no Resident Evil Biohazard. We have Resident Evil 2 Apocalypse. We have Extinction, Afterlife, Retribution, and the final chapter. Didn't get really creative on that last one.
Then I think we could just call it Resident Evil Biohazard, and then the gear of the movie. So anybody who does get confused can just look at that and say, "Oh, it's the movie, not the game."
Oh, yeah. Works for me.
Works for me.
All right. Well, this does leave us. So here's a little behind the scenes for you guys. So at the beginning, we say a series or a single title. But this does leave us open to, there's not several Resident Evil mainline games. This leaves us open down the road to do a Resident Evil 2.
Yes.
And not necessarily we do Resident Evil 2, although I would love this, my favorite game. We could do another Resident Evil. We could revisit the Resident Evil series, which is very exciting for when we do Resident Evil 2, which is my favorite game.
And obviously, another good reminder, kind of off topic, but a good reminder for our audience. If you've listened this far, thank you for listening. And
thank you.
If you've listened to an episode, be it this one or a previous one, and you're thinking, this doesn't exactly fit with the game in a way, or this doesn't exactly fit in line with something, we are perfectly fine with revisiting it with your suggestions. Yeah. If you say, hey, we have this many grievances, like straight up, you go back and you listen to Roller Coaster Tycoon or whatever, and you say, that doesn't work at all. Here's what you could do better. We will revisit and go over.
Yeah, so editing these are first drafts, so no one's turned in their first draft being like, this is perfect.
Oh,
but
of course
going back, I was editing, I forget which one I was editing. I think it was Roller Coaster Tycoon. And I was just like, man, there's so much that I want to change that would just make this better. Like, we have the bones. The bones are good. The bones are strong. They've been drinking a lot of milk. but we need to add some muscle on them bad boys.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to revisiting.
So if you want to hear us, if you like what you hear, and you want to hear us do a sequel to one that we've already done that, actually would invoke a sequel, let us know. Just in the same vein that if you want us to change one that we've done, and you have valid statements of like, hey, that sucks, we'll listen to your feedback.
Where can they tell us that kind of stuff?
You can tell us all of that stuff. If you're on YouTube, the comment section. Perfect place.
Of course.
Beautiful place. Otherwise, you can find links to all of our social media and our email on our website, which is www.speculativerealism.com. That is realism with 2 E's, like a film reel.
And be sure to share the show as well. Do you like what we did with Resident Evil compared to what Paul Blart Paul Anderson did, or whoever did the bad ones. What do you? I know you did. tell other people about it, please. This is when we're at the stage we're at. Word of mouth is the best way to get the show into more people's ears.
If you want to support us in another way, sharing it is a great way to support us. Perfect. If that's all you want to do, subscribe to YouTube, share it, go on to all of our different podcast hosting, and show people. Say, hey, you got a lot of options. Best way that you can support us financially, though. Oh. It's through a little thing called Patreon. You want to hop on that, dog?
Yeah, we have a link on our website. We have some benefits. Nothing crazy, but we're not asking for anything crazy. A couple dollars a month, price of a cup of coffee, a sandwich, whatever food-based item you want.
Those are not the benefits, by the way.
Those are not the benefits. We don't give you any sandwiches, unfortunately. You can also send us game and movie ideas, like Joe said, in the YouTube comments with our email, social media. If you have an idea for a movie, if there's a game you want us to cover that you think would benefit from us doing a deep dive into it, you can send that to us. We read it all. We talk about it all. And we might do it all.
We might. All of it.
This series has no defined ending. So theoretically, it could go on until we die.
Exactly. I mean, the track is circular. It just comes back around. So.
And this is a solar-powered train. So unless the sun goes away or we have just a very long period of rain, we're going to keep chugging. Speaking of, it's that time again, Joseph.
Oh, is
time
it?
For us to head off and leave the speculation station.
All right. Well, we will see you in our next episode.
A choo-choo.
Bye. Bye.